told you that my father used to be at the Livingston station every day. And very often he had to put in a good word to talk the authorities into letting this guy who had no money on him, who had no profession, to let them go on. And his story to the authorities was, you can see they're young, you can see that they're young, strong people, and you must let them through. The Jewish community will look after them until they find jobs. That, because they used to ask my father, why are you doing all this? Do you make a living out of that? So he said, no, I don't. They're all coming because they haven't got anywhere to go and they need to settle down somewhere. You know, it was the days between 1933 and 38 that they were all coming, right. So he was one day, like in 1937 or 8, at the station, like he had always been. And he saw, as he often did, he saw a young man sitting on a bench at the station, looking very forlorn, very sort of down. And he went up to him and he said in Yiddish, "Bist du Yid?" You know what that means?
Are you a Jew?
Yes, "Bist du Yid?" And if you said yes, he'd say, well, can I help you? What's the problem? He knew what the problem was, because the immigration would say, how much money have you got on you? And they didn't have very much and all that sort of thing. Bist du Yid? And he asked what his story was. He says, well, he says, I left Palestine to come to Bulawayo in southern Rhodesia because I had a friend living there in southern Rhodesia, Mr. Cohen. His name was Ephraim Cohen, and he was a chemist, and he was working in Bulawayo, and he said, if I come, he'll help me. So I left on a cargo boat from Palestine, and I got off at a place called Beira in Portuguese East Africa, which was adjacent to Rhodesia at the time. And I got off the boat, and I got on a train. I heard there was a train to Bulawayo and southern Rhodesia. So I got on the train and I arrived in Bulawayo, and I went to the address that I had from Ephraim Cohen, and I stayed with Ephraim Cohen, but unfortunately the authorities would not give me permission to remain in southern Rhodesia. I didn't have enough money, I wasn't equipped to be there.
How
So
old is this young man?
this young man must have been 20, early 20s. He had been working on the roads in Afula, on a steamroller, driving steamroller in Afula on the roads. That was what he was doing. And Ephraim Cohen, his sister, Ephraim Cohen's sister, had married an uncle or a brother of this guy. This guy was Yochanan El-Kayam. And he was working on the roads, and he decided he needs to go somewhere to make some money because the family was very poor. That family were all born in Gaza, and they all ran away from Gaza in 1929 from when the riots, because whatever the family had there was burned down by the Arabs then at that time. And that's what he did, and he went there and he eventually saved enough money to buy his own steamroller. And when he could afford it, he went to look for jobs with the municipalities of the little towns. There were 5 or 6 little small towns around that area, and he went and he offered his services on the steamroller for building roads. And in the end, he built all the roads in between, from one town to the other, and he became a very wealthy man. And,
An entrepreneur.
and he actually got, many years later, a medal from Kaunda for his services to the country and to community generally. He built a Catholic school for the little black children who were being taught by the nuns. They called it the barefoot school because the kids had no shoes. But I've got, his daughter lives here in Rosh Pinah, and you can speak to her.
Oh, Hanan's daughter.
Hanan's daughter, Dr. Ron, Dr. Aviva Ron. She lives she's a terrific woman, very nice. She and her husband live in Rosh Pinah. Very nice person to her. She is a doctor of health, public health, and she's got many honors from the Johns Hopkins University for her work in public health. Apparently at one stage she was head of Kupat Cholim in Tel Aviv many years ago.